Welcome, folks, here to the Modern Experiences Show. I see this increasingly, Jay. You mentioned, AI, but even if you put aside the AI, just the intelligence and the smartness that modern apps start showing. Like I start clicking around, I already see web apps acting differently. It's starting to categorize me, and the next time I come back to the same app, the experience is a little different. And marketing folks love this stuff where they can customize experiences, customize emails, or have a full nurture flow based on what the user is trying to do. Now, as a dev, like, do I have to hand code all of that myself? That sounds like a lot of work.
Would be a lot of work, and I think that one of the reasons that they brought in technologies like customer data platforms was to move that work from the
Mhm.
devs to marketing and related
Yeah.
uh, people within a business, right?
I mean, kind of
100%.
automate the process, so to speak.
Well, yeah, I don't know if automate's the word that I'd kind of go to, but like I think about you know marketing people when it comes to grouping people into segments, or maybe they want to kind of deliver a particular personalized experience to
Mhm.
someone. They're not going to be jumping into code. They're not going to be
Yeah.
cutting tables in SQL Server or what have you, right? So um,
Cutting tables in SQL.
do you like that? I just made that up on the fly. I don't know if that's a
Yeah.
real thing these
I,
days.
I I have dropped tables in SQL by accident, but
Dropped tables, yeah. Well, that's but like the when I talk about cutting tables, I'm really kind of referring to creating segments, like writing queries,
mhm. Yeah.
like creating segments that they want to address. So I think one of the first things that a CDP is it's a way for you to build systems uh, around the users that can monitor what the users are doing, and then the marketers, by kind of going through and sort of looking at the different journeys that users are taking through the various applications, they can start sort of segmenting them. Know that
Yeah.
are they young, or are they old, are they interested in this type of product or that type of product, or whatever the scenario is. I think the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
CDPs by nature are pretty kind of malleable, but I think one of the big things that CDPs kind of set out to do is just to really stop that uh, flow of requests going into IT. Can you sort out this segment? Can we kind of set up a data pipeline from here to here? That's where it kind of really kind of comes in.
Well, why don't we get into action? Do you want to start sharing your desktop? I mean, I can start talking through, but I think you might have more of the meat of the things to show.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. I thought what we could do is just to kind of give everyone a an idea of some of just the basic mechanics of a CDP. We'll show you our CDP, but really these mechanics apply to kind of any that
mhm.
they form the basis of any customer data platform. Let me just share
And
my desktop.
for the uninitiated, like myself,
Mhm.
you mentioned CDP a few times, and I know, like, in the marketing world this is very common. But can you describe that, or just maybe pull up a browser, or just show us a little bit of what you mean by a CDP? What exactly is
Yeah,
a customer developer platform or data platform?
let's look at what is a customer in terms of a CDP. So if we think that we're looking at a customer record, and I think from from a CDP perspective, I think what we're looking at here is really that representation of all the data that's coming into the platform. So like let's have a look at it. If I kind of expand out this bit at the top here. So
So what is
this
this we're looking at first?
so we're looking at a contact. Some
Yeah.
people might refer to this as a 360-degree view of customer. Um, this kind of thing, and what it's made up of is what I like to refer to as explicit contact details kind of thing. So if we look at kind of what's sort of sitting in this section here, these are all this is all data that we pretty much kind of know is true. maybe it's an email address that they've entered on a form, no first name, last name. Maybe it's information coming from a CRM system or a billing system or whatever
Hmm.
it is. But these are the particular details about their customer. And what you've usually got with most CDPs is the ability to add additional fields that you want to bring in kind of explicitly from a system.
Gotcha. So you essentially have a web app on which you have a customer that is registered. So you have most of the basic demographic information, and now you're just trying to add on with every interaction that the customer has with your app. You're trying to collect more of the habits and the patterns of how they behave.
Yeah, that's a good, yeah. So that, yeah, good segue there. So I spoke about explicit. So if we think about what's the opposite of that, implicit, right? So if
Hmm.
um, I want to scroll, I want to come back to this stuff in the middle here, but what I want to do, I want to kind of come down to this here, right? So the other thing that you can
Mm,
see, what we've got the CDP pulling in is the entire customer journey, and a customer journey is made up of interactions, and we can see these interactions happening. They go on and on and on and on and on and on. But let me just
yeah. That's a lot
let
of
me
logs of what the user has done on your app,
yeah,
essentially,
yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah, so just looking at this screen, a marketer can come in, they can look at a specific person. Maybe there's someone that's successfully purchased. Maybe this person, maybe this picture that we're looking at represents our ideal customer. We want to get more customers like this. So
Hmm.
maybe we start going in and we start looking at, well, what is it this customer does? How did they get to the site? All of that kind of thing. If I just zoom in, I just want to zoom in here just to bring just one interaction into the screen. And I can talk about just for a little bit in terms of what exactly does an interaction mean. If we think about this as an object, what are its properties? So, well, first up, we've got who it was that did the interaction, right? So in this case, we've got an email address. This was what we would be referring to as a known contact or a known visitor. But it's also important to call out that to have a contact within inside a CDP, we can also make use of cookie identifiers and things like that. What if someone's interacting with us and we don't know their name, we don't know their email address, but maybe there's something else like a cookie or something like that that we can attach to them, so at least we can kind of put an ID on them. So I think that's the first thing that we need. Um, and then there's really just kind of three key kind of elements left. You've got the date and time of the interaction, which we can see that's coming in here. Um,
This is sounding like Amazon, where I'm clicking around at 1 in the morning trying to buy stuff,
mm,
and it's trying
yeah,
to
yeah,
log
yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything that I'm interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. So like as you're doing that, yeah, without a doubt, like you can imagine this kind of steady stream of data that's feeding into one of Amazon's data silos or whatever you want to call it, or however it is that they do it. So we've got the date and time, and then if we look over here, we've got portal button click and get started. Now I want to break that up into two. So the first one, I guess in the Sitefinity Insight world, but we kind of we would refer to that as the predicate. So what is the type of interaction that's kind of coming into play here? Um, now Insight and probably most CDPs, when it comes to what predicate you're passing in, that's really kind of up to you. That can kind of you can set your own standards there. It's really just kind of free text if you like, but we can think about that as the type of interaction, or in the documents it'll be kind of referred to as a predicate. And then the thing that we pass in after is this little bit here, which would refer to as the object or the descriptor to the interaction. So someone came in at 10 past 1, they clicked on a button and it was the get started button.
Hmm.
Is that kind of making sense? Because
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you said, I mean, before we maybe dive more into how you set up these predicates and what you're capturing, because you have said a few things. We started with CDPs, but then you said insight. So what exactly is insight, and how are you capturing this, or are you getting to all of this in a bit?
yeah. So if we think about, it's important when we I guess logically think about CDPs to think about them in three areas. So right now we're talking about the first area, which is the collection of data from anywhere it needs to come from. And I
Hmm.
think with straight up with CDPs, it's not just about what your customers are doing in Google Chrome or Internet Explorer. It could be interactions that they're having offline. Maybe they come to an event, maybe they come to your trade booth, maybe you scan their ticket and take them down as a lead. Maybe they ring up a call center. Maybe you send them an email campaign. Like there's all sorts of different ways that companies interact with people. Um, so I think when we're if we talk about this like first pillar of CDPs being collection, it's setting up all of the different data flows into the CDP from all of the different areas within your organizational business that you're interacting with your customers. So, um, Insight, for example, gives you a real plethora of ways to do that, and we can probably look at a couple of those today. So one example would be just setting up a like a Google Tag Manager um, tag where you can be firing in interactions based on page view activity, all of that kind of thing. You could upload Excel spreadsheets, sorry, not Excel spreadsheets, CSV files of data. Maybe you've got maybe you have a something like this, maybe a show like this. Let's say, for example, that we could get access to a list of the show attendees. We could then upload that list. Maybe we might need to format it a little bit, but we could upload that list and say like, hey, all of these contacts attended this show. So we could then start to kind of mark people as being interested in this show.
I'm
And then
looking at
there's
our. No, sorry, I was going to say I'm looking at our usual friends in the chat room, like Napalm and Phil Shamble. We're like, we are marking you down as folks who come and harass us, which we love.
yeah, that's right, exactly. Um, So, and then you've got so probably a couple of other ways to get data into your CDP. Obviously, like the JavaScript libraries, because that's an important one, right? What I think what we can do with JavaScript in terms of feeding interactions in is pretty powerful, right? One of the things that I kind of played around with a little while back now was how you write JavaScript files to pick up UX faux pas. Like there's this example that I discovered that was detecting rage clicks with JavaScript. If you've ever been to a website where the uh, uh, um, where there's a button and you click on the submit button or whatever and it doesn't work. It depresses, but it's not doing anything. So what's the natural human instinct? You're going to kind of rage click on that button and you fire a few clicks onto that button in pretty quick succession. So we could write JavaScript to detect that behavior, right? And if that behavior happens, then we could potentially feed that up as an interaction. And it's just one of the many kind of things that we can do when we start using when we start looking at feeding data into a CDP programmatically. Things like that with the JavaScript. Obviously, there's lots of things that Google Tag Manager can open up to us when it comes to getting things in there with JavaScript. So that's there. But there's also a .NET SDK as well. So when it comes to kind of building that interaction collection into your apps and whatnot, we've got that at our disposal. And on top of that, there's probably a couple of others that I'll probably mention, probably more in terms of like scheduled or batch processing. You could use something like the oh gosh, I'm going to get it wrong now. Is it Azure Data Factory? Is that something you've had too
Yep,
much
yep.
you've had a little
No,
bit of
I
experience
have
with it?
not done much with it, but that'll be Azure Data Factory,
Yeah. So
Data Lake. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you wanted to sort of set up a process like where nightly, maybe it was going to go over to another system and pull like a ton of interactions in batch mode and bring them into the CDP. You can bring in data like that. But I think it's kind of really kind of key to kind of start on this kind of screen, because I think this really kind of visualizes just when we talk about data within the CDP, it's actually not too complex. We're talking about contact data, which we can see here, and we're talking about interaction data
All
that
the
we can see here.
interactions. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So
So
once we're
we
pulling
have
all
this
those
data
things
then.
in,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
we've got that.
what can you do with this?
Right. So that involves us to transition now from the first pillar to the second pillar. So the second pillar is really about segmentation. So this is where we're going to start casting people into buckets.
Mm,
So to do that, let's go, because all of the CDPs are going to kind of do this slightly differently, but I'll talk a little bit about how Insight does this. You can see here under the audience tab, we've got, there's two sections here, personas and lead scores. I'm going to click into personas first, and I'll come to lead scores after I've explained personas, because they work in a very, very similar fashion, but just they're aiming to segment very differently. Um,
yeah. Because
um,
now you're speaking the marketing language. Now you're talking about personas and setting up buckets that marketing people would like to come in and do all of this work behind the scenes. So then, as I'm interacting with your app, you start categorizing me and putting me in a certain persona. Is that fair?
yeah, and I think it's really kind of important here. Yeah, the marketer word's really important or key here, because when we look at this interface and how it is to use it, it's really kind of got to be a pretty easy to use interface for all of those concerned. Um, let me just jump into one, and so we can see here we've got a bucket, and this should have some people in it. We can see, these are all fictitious people,
Hmm.
but we can see we've got some people in a bucket. That's great. And actually, let me just go back to another one and see if I've got one that's a little bit better populated. Hold on a second.
So it almost sounds like you have like a banking app or a demo, because you have like different types of bank products or people who are interested in certain personas who are interested in certain buckets.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is good, right? So let's look at a bucket in its entirety. We'll just kind of go through everything that's there. So we've got first of all, we've got like a segment or a persona set up. I like to refer to personas as this is who someone is, right?
Hmm.
When we get to lead scores, that's more about where someone might be in a particular journey, but we can talk about this as being um, who someone is.
Yeah.
So we've called this one product home loans, which means this is people that are interested in home loan products, right? Maybe they're an existing customer, maybe they're shopping for a home loan, but they're fitting that mold of someone that's into home loan products. Um, we can see here how how the persona's been defined, the name of the persona, and that's really just a description to the persona. So let's kind of skip over that. We can see how many visitors that we've got that pass the threshold. Now let's just double click on that word visitors for a second. That's really anyone that's, if you like, interacting with your entire digital landscape, right? So if we think about these interactions can come from anywhere. So when we sort of think about anywhere, I like to say on-site, off-site, online, offline. Let's look at this. So on-site is obviously things that people are doing on your site. Off-site might be they're still online, but they're off your site. So maybe they're interacting with social campaigns, paid search campaigns, things of that nature. And then we go, and that's our online stuff. Then we go to offline, and that can be like our live events, people calling in. So it's really that's what the visitors are. And then from there we can kind of go and see contacts that pass the threshold. That means that out of the people that we know, that's why there's this link here to view contacts. There's 31 people that are fitting in this bucket. So the total, so you could basically subtract this number from this number, And
Hmm.
this will effectively tell me that 204 people are sitting in this bucket, but we don't have an email address. We don't know who they are. So maybe they're anonymous visitors that have triggered that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then we can see what the percentage representation is. So what does this persona represent in terms of just a share of all visitors, and then of all the personas that we've created, what does this persona represent as a share of those, right? Now let me just scoot down here so we can see we've got a bunch of people in this bucket here, which is great. And we get a little bit of basic reporting as well. We can sort of see, what they're doing, what conversions and touch points they're hitting. This is a pretty cool one here. We because we're tracking all of the pages that they consume and stuff like that, we can see like a word cloud starting to formulate, which really is kind of indicative of their content consumption behavior, which is quite kind of clever. We can flick to a list and stuff like that, and this can sort of be super helpful if you're maybe looking to create content and you want to look at what it is that a particular persona that you're trying to reach is interested in. And then we can go over here and we can see the different pages that this bucket is interacting with, highest to lowest, that kind of thing. So hopefully everyone's wondering, okay, I get that, Jay, but how do you get people into this bucket? And this is where the rules come into it. So
Hmm.
if I
So
flick
you as
over,
a marketing person come in and you set up these rules, like you need to be doing these interactions for me to get you into this bucket. Is that fair?
um, yeah, yes, kind of. So what it is, so if we actually, let me just go back and I'm going to create a persona from scratch just so we can see, because it's super quick to do. So let's just go here and we'll just go
People interested in the modern experiences show.
let's call it something like, let's go with that. Yeah, okay.
Hmm.
And then we'll give it a MES. We can give a photo if we like. I don't have one quickly to hand, so I'm just going to skip that for now.
Yeah.
So here we're just going to set a threshold, and depending on how you're going to sort of set up your threshold, or it's really up to you. There's not really kind of an exact science to this that I've really discovered, but let's just say we'll give it a threshold of 100 points. And so now we've got our persona set up, but it's completely empty. Nothing's happening. But what it wants us to do straight away is add a rule. So we set that threshold before. So basically, what that means is that for a visitor to become part of this bucket, we need to get them over that 100-point
Right.
threshold.
Right. So this is where you get to define the points. Like if I do this, I get 5 points, and so
That's
on.
right. That's right. And this is where the whole link to when we were talking about the interactions is very, very important to understand that structure, because when we go and define the conditions uh, of what triggers the points, this
Hmm.
is where we're interacting with the interaction, if you like, right? Um,
Gotcha.
so straight up the top here, we've got the condition. We can set that being by behavior or by contact property. So if we just jump to contact property first and we think about what we were looking at the top of the page, we can see here that we can select any one of those things. Now we can select if someone's company
Right.
is equal to Microsoft, for example, we can then go and start doing points, right? Or we could go and say, for example, if someone goes and visits a page and part of the page has modern experience show in it, for example, we can define that as the behavior. And
Yeah.
let's run with that. But probably one thing that I didn't just call out, so let me just kind of quickly do that again, so I can call this out. Is so we can switch between the contact property and the behavior, but when we're talking about the behavior, we're talking about analyzing the interactions. And what you see here is this is essentially a list of our predicates, right? These are our interaction types. And the cool thing that's going to happen here is that as you pass in different interaction types, so like if you fired up an app today, Sam, and you started firing in interaction types that weren't on this list, it would actually grow dynamically. So this list is effectively a list of the unique interaction types that have been passed into the system. So we can just go and choose an interaction type, and then we can just enter a part of or an exact string match that's going to match the object. So that might be the event that they attended, the page that they visited. We can see there's all sorts of different things, maybe search things that they've searched for, or maybe they've just done something kind of quite binary, like just like logging in or logging out. Like all of these behaviors there. We can kind of start to see how quickly that they can tell us about a person. If someone's logged into a customer portal, straight away we can flag them that we know that this person's an existing customer. If they search for particular topics or whatnot, you can kind of let your brain run sort of wild there. So we're sort of selecting the predicate there, and then here we're jumping in, and we're just going to just do kind of like a string match. I've got that in my clipboard. We're going to do a string match against the object that's been passed in, and then that's set up our condition, and then we can do our scoring. So we can obviously add points. We can just go and give someone 100 points. That would put them straight over the threshold. We've also got the option of choosing to give points either only once they do that condition, when they meet that condition, or every time they meet that condition, right? So this can be useful if you want to set up things like, well, I'm not going to call someone a real Java developer until they read 10 of my articles, for example. Or you could call someone a Java developer if they read only one of your Java articles. The other things you've got at your disposal as well is that you can actually subtract points. It's like, so if someone goes and reads a Microsoft article, I can subtract them from my JavaScript persona. So you can do all those kind of fun things. So you can subtract points, and then you can also just reset their points to 0 if they do something which would just eliminate them from the bucket, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So that's how rules work. So I think, like, do you feel like you've got your head around rules? Because I think what we've kind of gone through there is very you're doing this kind of stuff again and again and again. So this is how this is how you sort of set up your rules, and that's how you're going to get people into the buckets.
So given the rules and given the personas that you have had in this one, I'm guessing this is the backend, one of the data centers that you use for the banking demo that you have talked about before. Like, can you show us an example of how with these personas set up and how you have the rules, how can that personalization work?
Yeah, sure. So let's just go back to, I think it was our credit card one that we were before. Which had, okay, so that's good. Nothing in there. That was the home loan one. Let me go back. Okay, so if we referred to this as this is our fully functioning persona here. And we can see we've got some rules set up here. So we've got, if people visit a page, and it's containing that string, we can give them 1 point. And here we've got kind of like one of those more kind of custom interactions coming in. Like if someone asks a chatbot for something around planning a home, that kind of thing, we're going to give them 1 point also. If we look up, just jump to the persona itself, we can actually see this persona has actually only been set up with a single point threshold, right? So it doesn't, as soon as someone triggers one of those things, they're coming in. So this is obviously just a persona set up for demo purposes. I wouldn't typically sort of expect a persona to be set up like this. I think using 1 point for a threshold, it makes sense, but it's really got to be kind of that binary use case. Are they a customer or are they not? That kind of thing. So let's get to personalization. But before we do, I just want to quickly jump into lead score types, because we should be able to kind of cover this off in a couple of minutes, because it's so similar to the way that personas work. So if you recall me saying about how personas talk about who someone is. We can think about
Yeah.
lead scoring as where someone is in a journey. We can
In
think
the
about this
journey.
as
Hmm.
it's like a journey stage. So if I jump into one of these lead score types, and you can create these for all of the different journeys that your customers might kind of go on. Um, it's where someone is. So if we look at the definition of a lead score type, what we'll see is rather than defining a single threshold, we've actually now got multiple stages defined. So we've got this 1 to 99, 100 to 99, 9999, et cetera, as we sort of measure where they are in this particular credit card application journey. Still works with rules. So we can kind of see down here, we can still go in, we can add a rule. It's exactly the same kind of screen. We can do all the add, subtract, reset to 0. We can give 1 every time. But as we add points, it's not just about putting them into a bucket, it's actually putting them into a section within the bucket, if you like. And also what we can do with this is when we're kind of starting to develop segments for personalization, we can actually meld the two together. So I could talk to, say, for example, I want to only talk to people that are interested in credit cards, but I only want to speak to credit card people that are interested in credit cards that maybe are at that consideration stage of their journey, or maybe they've been declined for the credit card and I want to go and offer them another service, something like that. So we can mix all of these lead score types and personas. We can mix them all together, um, and that enables us to be really really targeted, and hopefully the other thing that everyone's kind of picking up in is how quick and easy is this to kind of quickly go and build these audiences that we can then we can then kind of like activate, personalize for, deliver on. Like hopefully what we've kind of sort of shown there is that we've got that easy ability that once the data is flowing in, that anyone can pretty much just jump in there and quickly kind of narrow down who they're trying to talk to. And one of the cool things that I kind of love about Insight is that this is actually retrospective. So if you go and if you've got a ton of data in there already, and you can actually go in there and set up a bucket, and it won't happen instantaneously because a lot of the time their systems have got huge amounts of data behind them, but it will aggregate and calculate, and maybe you come back a few hours later and you can look at this report that you've created. So it can be good for forensics or anything
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
you kind of want to do, right? Um, so personalization, that's the was your next step question, right,
Yeah.
Sam?
So looks like on the back end of things, you have gotten everything set up. You have your personas, you have your rules, and now you have your lead scoring. What's the impact of all of this? Like, how can you actually change the behavior of your app based on the data that you're collecting?
Yeah. So let me just go back to let's go back to our contact screen, and I don't know which one we were. Let's just go to. Oh, let's
'Cause
just choose this guy.
I remember you have shown me this before, like on the banking demo, like when you start interacting and like the rules have been set up. Like if somebody shows interest in home loans, then you drive the experience a certain way.
Yeah. So this is the personalization is part of that third pillar, right? So we've collected the data, we've segmented. Now we want to activate, and we can think about a personalized experience on a page or something like that as being activation through personalization. But we could also do things like take people that are fitting inside a certain segment. We can send them an email. We can give them a call. Like
Mhm.
there's all sorts of different ways to activate based on segmentation. But personalization is a really easy one for us to show today. So let me just I'm just going to log into Sitefinity, and what we'll do now is we'll show what it's like from a user perspective, I guess, to work with the Insight CDP, and how you'd actually go about delivering personalized experiences um,
Yeah. So
online.
this is the part that touches the customer. So like the user
Hmm.
experience.
Yep. Um, so what we might do is, how about if we, I'll show you what it looks like from like a marketer kind of, someone with a CMS admin um, access could what it looks like for them to work with the data, and then I think we can kind of talk a little bit in terms of what's going on behind the scenes programmatically. Um, so I'll jump into my personalization area here, and this is a screen within Sitefinity, our CMS, and this is where we can go and define segments for personalization. You can see there's a bunch of segments that have already been defined. And they're also in a priority list. We can sort of see numbers 1 through to 7 there. And what that's for is it's because it's always going to be possible for people to belong to more than one segment. So what happens if Sam fits in the 25 to 35-year-old segment, but
Yeah,
is
I
also
wish.
yeah, right. Um, but is also an existing credit card customer. By setting a priority, it allows us to kind of go, well, if Sam hits a page and he belongs to 2 segments, this is the more important segment. So if we've got a personalized experience to show him relating to this segment, this is what he's going to see first. So that's where the kind of the priority comes into it. Now, if we go and create our own segment, I'm a bit of a loss to what to call this, but let's just call it the Modern Experiences Show. Uh, Modern Experience Show viewer. So I've created a segment for the Modern Experience Show viewer. We can give it a description if we want. I'll ignore that for now. And this is where we go and define our characteristics. Now, when we go and define our characteristics, what we'll see is up top there, we can do some just some basic kind of online site interaction type visits, right? We could go and build out based on IP address kind of stuff. We could do location, so that's kind of using the GeoIP kind of method there. So if we want to kind of go and create segments based on countries and all of that kind of thing, what else is there? We've got the page that they landed on, the page that they were referred to, what time of day, all of these kind of things. But if we notice that all of these kind of methods here would be kind of one, doesn't matter whether we've seen them before or not, we can generally kind of pick up this information. And it's got to be related to their session, right? It's what they're doing at that particular point in time. But we've got all of those different all of those different characteristics. So say for example, what we could do is we could go and say, for example, like let's go time of day, and we could kind of go, let's just say, let's see if I can do this. Let's go clock picker here. Let's go from 6 o'clock in the morning through till let's go 11 a.m. So let's pick a time of day is between there and there. And then we can start joining these characteristics as well, right? So we've got the morning going on here, and we can see that we've got an and connector there, so we can go and add another characteristic under here. And here's where I actually want to tap into the insight side of things, right? So if I go and select my persona, it's going to let me select from all of the different personas that I've got created in Insight. And there's the one that we created earlier, right? So this kind of plays well into the narrative. So now we've kind of got this segment now that's set up. It's basically, well, I should actually call this morning Modern Experience Show viewers would be more fitting. So is this kind of making sense, right? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. So you have a persona. Now you're wanting to see, are they watching the show at this time of
yeah,
the day?
yeah. So we're basically combining what we already know about someone, or what bucket they might be belonging to something to another characteristic that's happening there and then within this session, that being the time of day. So once we've created that segment, that segment now becomes available for us to use within the CMS, and to just show you guys kind of quite quickly what that looks like for a marketer to then use. If I just kind of go and jump over to Let's just jump over to the home page, for example. Uh, like that. So what we could kind of do here is we could kind of go in and let's say just go and pick something. I can go and choose my
Oh,
segment,
nice.
right? And now what's going on here is now I've got this personalized block. So now I could go and just simply edit that and just change my text, and I could go, good morning, Mammy,
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Sure, sure. Yeah, so only that
End to end.
persona, only hitting that certain characteristic is going to see that widget.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So we've kind of just talked through the whole sort of end to end of that basic CDP um, kind of thing, right? Like collect collection of data, segmentation of data. We kind of like segmented in two places there as
Right.
well, right? Because we segmented within the CMS because we wanted to combine the some of the session properties, which are obviously going to
Hmm.
be kind of quite dynamic, um, and that enables us to kind of go and deliver that message
Right.
on screen.
Okay, so you talked through three pillars essentially. So one is collection,
Hmm.
two is segmentation, and three is activation.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
Um,
that's making more sense. Yeah.
yeah,
Because when we talk about just CDB concepts to a dev audience, it might be too nebulous. Like we might not be understanding what you're meaning, but you're essentially trying to collect interaction data, and you're
yep,
trying to drive behavior or personalizations based on that data that you have collected with the help of segmentation and special rules.
exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All right.
Um, then from there, let me just see here. Bring in another window because I just it might be worthwhile just having just a little bit more of a look on the activation, because there's one other thing that's kind of pretty cool to look at. I'm just going to bring in my admin screen into here. So the other thing that we've got within um, Insight, or sorry, when we think about activation, we've got the personalization, which is one way to activate. The other way to activate is to do things like sending emails and doing things in other systems and whatnot. And the way that we do that with Insight, that's probably going to be sort of similar with other CDPs as well, is we do that with webhooks. And what we'll see with webhooks is we can come in here and we can kind of create um, we can create a webhook. Let's just call this something like that, and we'll choose the data center that we're working with, um, and we'll set up the trigger, right? So maybe it's when someone passes that trigger, we go and choose our persona, and I've just realized I'm in let me just select the right data center, so that will, and now we can go and
Oh,
choose our
there it is.
persona,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Um, and then really all that's left is to put in the URL that we want to post that payload. We can look at what the payload kind of looks like here.
Yeah.
How
Like to
we
your email sending, app.
that's exactly right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
webhooks are kind of like the duct tape of the internet these days. Like JavaScript, I think they fall
That,
into that
you
bucket of things
yeah,
that you
yeah.
always got by your side, right? Um,
Yeah, and then so whatever might be your, Active Directory or email, system, just put a payload out. That's your webhook to say, go take this action.
That's exactly right. So all the marketer needs to know is what URL to sort of send that to, which they can obviously get from the administrator of the relevant system, and we can sort of
Yeah.
see we've got some bunch of authentication and header
Hmm.
stuff that we can add in there as well. But when it comes to activation, that's really kind of all it takes to kind of set that up.
Yeah.
So there's really kind of no heavy lifting, which I think,
Yeah.
well, this is one of the reasons why I think CDPs really kind of come to the forefront, because that they enable us to create these kind of personalized experiences, really quickly. Um, but I think, it's worthwhile to sort of talking about, to create this kind of capability feature for your marketers. It's really kind of incredibly reliant on data.
Yeah.
Um, so so maybe I would love to kind of get your sort of thoughts, maybe scanning some of the online documentation with
Yeah.
Insight, to
Right.
talk about
And
what it looks like to
actually,
get that.
let me flip the script on some. Like you're giving me all of this wealth of information, but if I'm wanting to learn more, like where can I get started? So let me share my screen, because I thought I would bring up some docs. Maybe not, like we got 10 minutes left to the top of the hour. Maybe not
Yeah, it's
do
gone
a
quick.
whole. Yeah, maybe not do a whole lot, but just so I get my understanding right on what to poke around, because you said a few things. Let's see. I have moved my screens around. Let's see. Can I present my share screen? My entire screen. And there. Okay. So now you see my desktop. All right. So let's open up a new window here. So essentially, if I let's go to Tillery.com, and then if I go into Sitefinity. So this is our CMS. This is the heart and soul of your digital experience. This is where everything is connected together. This is how you create web apps and mobile apps and your landing pages, and everything starts here. But you can also use it in however, slice and dice it up however you want. So if I look at all the platforms, like I notice, e-commerce, I notice different ways of this, how this can be hosted on-prem, in the cloud, or something in the mix of both. I look at composable DX. So this was the first time I came across CDPs, Jay, and I did not understand what this line meant, but now I do. So it's a rich CDP toolset Insight, with AI-driven personalizations for multi-channel analytics that build into digital relationships. So if I start there, it starts telling me all about how Insight works, unifying customer data, personalizations, compliance. Does compliance play into this in any way?
Yeah, so I think so. So Sitefinity Insight, the CDP, it's probably important to call out that, so this is a SaaS app. So this is, you can't
Okay.
get the code for it. So you'll be working with a SaaS app, but that affords you some things, right? One of the
Hmm.
things about a SaaS app is that the hosting and everything's taken care of by Progress, and they've gone through a lot of
Yeah.
rigor to get those
Hmm.
things like SOC 2 compliance certificates.
Sure.
Or if
And
you're in the
HIPAA.
US and you're working with healthcare, HIPAA
Yeah.
is obviously a big one. And that can be a challenge sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
um, so that's kind of taken care of.
Okay, so this is where you talked through some of these little boxes here: data capturing, customer journey mapping, personalization, targeting, analytics, and reporting. But one of the questions I had was, like, do I have to use Sitefinity as a CMS for Insights to work? And I think the answer is no. I'm not. I mean, I'm not tied to this. I mean, it obviously lights up better if it's Sitefinity, but I looked this up. Let's see if I can type. So Sitefinity
Maybe like Sitefinity JavaScript or something. Sorry, Insight
Insight.
JavaScript or something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
might
there
give
you
it
go.
give us something interesting.
That one. So it looks like there is Insight has a JavaScript SDK. And if I can bump up my fonts here, this is pretty simple. So I can do this on any site. I can do this on any HTML page, local or in the cloud or on-prem. So essentially what this needs is, looks like there is a bit of a SDK, which can be just, embedded inside of your script tag in head. And here's the whole C, and we have it on a CDN. So you can be delivering this to Australia or Asia or any other continent, and this will be close to where you are. And looks like there's a minified version of it, so you don't have to pull down the whole thing. So this one line of code, script tag, on your page is going to light that up. And then you come into initializing this one time. And
Yeah, so actually, so Sam, if you just zoom into that, I think
this line of this
just hold there for a sec. Yeah, okay. So,
yeah, code block.
um, yeah, this little code block's really interesting. So, essentially, if you're dropping in this code block
Hmm.
into, say, for example, your header, so
Yeah.
it's going on every page, or maybe use something like Google Tag Manager to drop it in.
Or
Uh,
like, or have like a layout page where you have your pages, core
yeah,
skeleton built, and then every page kind of feeds off that, like a
but yeah,
inheritance model.
line 6 there, where we can see the track page visits.
Yeah.
This is the kicker. So really, what we're kind of sort of saying here is that if you go and drop this code onto every page within your app, it's automatically going to start tracking
Sure.
those page visits. So very, very quick to at least get
Yeah.
some kind of data feed in.
Sure. Yeah. 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 So you stand up your Insight instance, either on-prem or SaaS, on the cloud. You set up your data center, and then you set up these personas, you set up these hooks, and then there's just one blob of initialization here. I'm guessing like this API key is something you can get once you have a data center.
That's
Like that's
correct.
your
Yep.
API key,
Yep.
and this is the service URL to your data center. Once you
Yep.
have that, all of this is
Yep.
pretty well documented.
Pretty much,
That's how you set it up.
the source that is so obviously you're going to be able to set up a multitude of sources feeding into your
Yeah.
CDP. So we saw a
Hmm.
website there as the source,
Right.
uh, and if we can we just go and have a look at the menu on the left hand side, because I think maybe just while we've got a few more minutes, I thought, um,
Data collection, API endpoints, personalization. Oh, you mentioned a .NET SDK. There's that.
yeah, let's go and have a look at that, because I just want to kind of just go and see what it's like to
Collection
actually, let's go
clients.
data collection. Here we go, so we can
All
see a
right.
config
So on
structure.
any .NET app, this is something we can do on any .NET app. Then, so we're talking desktop, maybe
Yep.
potentially even like a native, mobile app, any type of .NET app. So init looks like there's a init interaction clients and interaction. This looks like it's actually documenting an interaction.
That's right, but this is really good to kind of talk about, because I think that when it
I
comes to
see.
kind of feeding that data in, now we can sort of see what the interaction looks like at the code
Oh,
level.
so individual interactions. While the
Yeah, yeah,
JavaScript was like, here's one hook, you keep visiting these, this page and do these things, we can report. Now it's a little bit more granular. Like you're on a .NET app, now you're feeding a special interaction into that model.
yeah. The what we talked about before, that was just kind of like a one size fits all approach to getting your page
Yeah.
tracking.
Hmm.
So page tracking isn't a problem, but when you want to start getting more granular, maybe you want to kind of write some code and have that trigger only on certain events via GTM or via app logic.
Yeah.
This is where we can kind of
Yeah.
see some of this kind of take place, and you can sort of see the predicate and the
Yeah.
object
So
there as
this
we spoke
one's
about.
a single interaction, like John Smith visited the homepage. Like that is it. That's the interaction
Mhm.
that you're trying to log. This one's like a multiple interaction thing where you have your pointers to the data center key, and then um, looks like some more mappings. And what are the interaction clients? Interaction metadata. Oh, this is one interaction. This is another interaction. So maybe like if I'm not quite following this example, maybe.
Yeah, neither am I. But I think what might be good is perhaps on the next show or our next opportunity, we can
Actually
maybe
do this. Yeah.
go through the process.
Yeah.
Whether it's JavaScript or .NET, what's it like to kind of send contact data into the
Yeah.
CDP from
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
programmatic perspective, and what's it like to sort of send that data, sorry, the interaction data.
This is cool. This is all .NET. Yeah. So you can install the .NET SDK from Sitefinity, and then it's all that. You can also extend that SDK out. So those are the predicates and the object that you talked through.
Mm. So you
Okay.
can sort of see how, like, just discussing the things that we've discussed today, like how you
Yeah.
could build your own kind of mini Netflix app if you like. Do you know what I mean? Because
Right.
people could be interacting, watching, shows each time they watch a particular show, that gets fed up, and then we can kind of quickly start sort of, does this person like comedy, action, drama, etc., etc.,
Right. Right.
and you can start building up this dynamic kind of Netflix type experience, right? Like,
Yeah.
hopefully this is enough to open everyone's eyes
Yep.
into, yeah, how it is you'd kind of do that, but not
Yeah.
not just not just technically how you do it, but how do you do it in a way that opens up the management of that to a broader scope. How do
Right.
we
Right.
how do we build a system that everyone else can kind of come in and create
Yeah.
these experiences and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, and I like this page too. Like if I did a search on what is a CDP, like I'm going to be inundated and probably overwhelmed very quickly, like with all the things that a customer data platform is. But everybody is trying to do the same things, and this kind of breaks it down. Like if you come from a non-marketing or maybe a developer background, these are the things that or how we call it. What's a data source? What's a predicate? What's an object? What's a sentence, what's a mapping, what's an interaction, what's a persona, lead scoring. So these are exactly the things you kind of walked through.
Yeah,
Touch
yeah,
points, A/B
absolutely.
testing. Yeah,
Yeah, and we didn't touch on all of what
yeah,
Insight did, but we've really today touched on the core CDP
right,
functions, and I think
yeah,
that what you'll find when you look at different CDPs is that um, they're not all the same. No, some have got
hmm,
extra features, and Insight's no different. It's got some of its own features that maybe other CDPs don't have, or that it's obviously things that our customers have requested. But you know what? All of the features, they all relate back to that contact data and that interaction data.
yeah,
So that's something for next show that we can kind of look at as
yeah,
well, in
yeah,
terms of
absolutely.
how we use that data to do things like manage performance or attribution,
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah, no, no, this is very well said, and I'm beginning to like the documentation here on things we can dive into. And I think you did a great job explaining everything. I'm going to stop my screen share. So I'm just going to recap just so I remember this thing. So essentially, you talked about those three pillars. So once you have a CDP, rolling out, you are going to have a system that's going to first collect the data. Then it's going to try to segment, behaviors into personas and lead scoring and interactions being recorded, and then you're going to take activation where you're taking personalization steps towards making sure that you are utilizing that data to drive certain types of actions. So
That's it. Yeah, it's not
yeah,
not so hard, is it? So
no,
hopefully
once you just
everyone's a
understand the
CDP
pieces, yeah.
expert. It's yeah, and that's, you walk into any CDP, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
how are we collecting information? How
yeah,
are we segmenting? How are we activating?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
those are the
yeah, well
basics.
said,
Yeah.
well said. All right, now this was good. Time flew by. We're already over an hour, but let's take this to the next step in the upcoming shows where we actually do something more with it. So, Jay, I cannot thank you enough for spending an hour with me, explaining to me all the concepts to a complete novice beginner who does not even know what a CDP is. So, thank you for your patience. Take care. Be productive. Be well, and we'll see you around on the next show.